welcome back to Close to Broke. My name is Kieran. It's a pleasure to have you guys back. Today, we are going to be at none other than our home casino here at the Commerce. I'm very excited for today. I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with you guys as I do almost every episode. It's kind of getting old, but it's still very sincere. The amount of support that we have received on this channel over the last 2 weeks has been literally without question some of the most overwhelming support I have ever seen on any of the projects I've ever had in my life. And to show a little bit of support and a little bit of thanks, we're gonna do some fun stuff, okay? I'm gonna ask a very big favor from you and I will give back in return. I'm gonna be giving away $250, okay? All you have to do is like the video and comment down below your favorite poker casino in the world. That's it. It's that simple. We'll split it up so it's fair. So we'll do I'll give away 100 to one person and then 50 to 3 people. So boom, there. Free money. Why not? You guys have done so much for me. How the hell can I not return the favor? So appreciate you guys all. Let's hop into the episode. Should be a good time. As you guys can see, today is my birthday actually. So we're in the mood for giving. Did a helicopter ride today. It's a great day. So yeah, we'll see how the commerce goes. Welcome everyone. Great to have you all back. Gonna get into these hands. Appreciate you guys showing the support. These last 3 videos have been absolutely insane. Enough of the gibbering and jabbering, y'all. Let's get into this very first hand. So here we are at the Commerce, our home field advantage, our home court. Hopping into this 5-10 game here. There's about 5 of these running if I'm not mistaken, so quite a bit to choose from at 4 p.m. on a Monday. After a lot of folding, we look down under the gun at pocket aces. We're gonna go ahead and raise this up here to $35. The small blind and the big blind both make the call. The flop comes Jack, 10, deuce, rainbow. It checks over to me. I'm gonna continue the C bet here. I would be doing this with the entirety of my range, especially on this board texture. $60 to go. Both opponents decide to make the call. The turn is a not so great card. It's a Jack of clubs. And the big blind decides to lead out here for $150. I'm next to act, and I think it's a little too early to pitch the hand. We're going to go ahead and proceed with caution. We make the call. The small blind decides to fold. The river comes another terrible card. It is yet another 10. So now the board is double paired. My aces, although are still a pair of aces, effectively in this situation aren't really better than just having ace high at this point. My hand is an absolute just bluff catcher. Our opponent decides to lead out here for $175, and I am now in the blender. I will fast forward the clip here to see how long it took me in the tank to try to put this together. Long story short, we make a horrific call, and I could have easily just not put this into the vlog, but I want to make sure that I'm honest with myself, I'm transparent. It's okay to play bad if you're able to fix it. So let's get these shitty plays out of the way and understand why they're shitty, because it's just a bad call, especially against a player type. This is a super OMC. Anyways, he has ace-10 offsuit, got there on the river, but we should have known better. Should have been a fold. We don't find it, and we're off to the next hand. Well, I can't make this up. Literally the very next hand. Early position decides to raise the $35. The cutoff decides to make the call, and it's on to me in the big blind. We look down at Jack 10 of hearts. Wow, how beautiful this hand is. Kind of wish I had it the last hand. Luckily for me, I'm not going to be folding this hand in the big blind, not for any amount almost, so I'm going to go ahead and make the call. The flop comes 9, 8, deuce, rainbow, an absolutely beautiful flop for a hand. We flop a ton of equity with 2 overs and the open ender. I go ahead and check, and it checks all the way to the button, who decides to take over the betting lead. He quickly puts out a bet of $65. It gets back over to me. Don't want to overplay my hand and blow myself off my own equity here, so I'm going to just make the call. And the initial raiser actually decides to call as well, hoping for a really beautiful turn card, and would you have guessed it? The Queen of Diamonds peels on the turn. Couldn't have been a prettier card I could have thought of. This does bring in a backdoor flush draw, which we should be cautious of. I go ahead and check, and to our surprise, it actually checks all the way through. The river comes a 5 of hearts, so we still have the absolute nutter butters on the river. I go ahead and check, playing a little trappy muck trapster. The initial raiser decides to check as well, and we're back onto the gentleman of the cutoff. After a little bit of thinking, he decides to throw out a bet of $150. Well, we didn't come all this way not to spring the trap and go for gusto. We decide to jam it all in there. The initial raiser decides to fold, and the jam at this point is for an effective of about $650 to $700 total, which is around $550 behind. After a little bit of thinking, the gentleman cannot make the fold, and he decides to make the call. Luckily for us, we have the nuts here, so pretty awesome situation to severely misplay the hand before and unbelievably make a terrible call to making a very, very decent play here with our hand. Obviously, it's easy when you have the nuts, but I think I like my check on the river and just making a big, big river-sized jam. The one thing you guys cannot say that I will do is go down without a fight. Your boy's got a lot of heart, so I'm gonna go for it wherever I can. In this next hand, we are playing 5 or 6 hand at this point. I'm in late position looking down at ace-10 offsuit. I decide to raise it up here to $35. The gentleman next to act decides to 3-bet me to $135 if I'm not mistaken. When it gets back over to me, I take my time. I'm trying to think it through. What the hell's going on? We're pretty short-handed and this is a pretty great hand. So why not put the pressure in, turn our ace-10 into an absolute bluff. Gonna go ahead and 4-ball this one here. Make it $335 to go. Folds back over to the late position player, and after a bit of tanking, he decides to rip it in $1,700 in the middle. Unfortunately, there's just no way I can make this call, obviously, and our hand has been effectively caught in the cookie jar. So with that being said, it's time to throw it away. So unfortunate situation there. We wish we could have got that bluff through, but we're gonna go ahead and give him credit for it anyways. It was pretty nitty, so nonetheless, it is what it is. So things are definitely starting to roll more in our favor. Besides a couple little tricky spots, the session is slowly starting to cool down and my head's starting to get a little clearer. Under the gun decides to open for $40, a little bit on the larger side, going 4x here. Folds already the small blind. He decides to make the call. I look down at queen-10 offsuit in the big blind. And again, not going to be pitching it here, so I'm going to go ahead and make the call as well. The flop comes king, queen, 8 with 2 hearts. It actually checks all the way through. The turn is another 8, so we improve to 2 pair with the king kicker. It checks through once again. And on the river, another queen comes, so now we boat up here. And when it's checked to me, the only reason I even bring this hand up, I think, is that I want to describe my logic in my bet sizing here. I decide to bet $125, which is near or just around the size of the pot. I think going for these pretty polar river sizes on these double paired boards are really, really important sometimes, especially when we're looking to get called by hands like ace high, weird pairs like pocket jacks or pocket aces in this situation that just play really slow. And not only that, the really important thing to understand is that to have some bluffs in these situations, and some very credible and likely bluffs I think we might have here are some gut shots that missed. If I had a gut shot in this situation and somebody bet on the turn, I think I would have definitely raised the turn. So a hand like jack 10 or jack 9 suited with hearts, I think I would have definitely decided to check raise a turn. Maybe I'm just rambling and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, which is fair for some of the cases, but I definitely don't mind going for a little bit of a polar sizing here because I pretty much have to have a queen or an 8 or I have nothing. Nothing is kind of more likely, especially in my case, than not. So I like my bet sizing. Unfortunately, both the players fold, but I definitely think if they had any form of this board, anything, a pair, anything ace high, they would have called. It's just unfortunate that the players in the hand had absolutely nothing, but that's not a problem. It happens. In early position, one of our action players from the 10-20 game that just broke decides to join our game at the 5-10 table. Currently on a little mid-session break, almost had a little bit of food. Usually we don't take breaks this early into the session, but unfortunately, like a dingus, I forgot to charge the pocket cam phone. So got a couple hands in there. We really severely overplayed one hand and played pretty well the other hand. Got the max on the river, so session's going all right. We're in for a lot, up for a little. I'll let you guys know how the session goes. The game is really, really bad, not good at all. So it's only gonna be here for much longer, but time to get the phone situated and hopefully we can play some good poker. One of our action players from the 10-20 game that just broke decides to join our game at the 5-10 table. He decides to limp. I'm next to act and I look down at queen 9 of spades, which I guess has now turned into my favorite hand in this vlog for whatever reason, and I decide to isolate him to $55. Next to act, for me, cold calls the $55. It gets back over to the early position limper and he decides to make the call. The flop comes 8-8-3 with 2 spades. We flop 2 overs and a flush draw. When it checks to me, I think that there's no other way I can play this hand besides going 30% here on the flop. I like definitely having 30%, 75%, and 150% bet sizing for the moment. That's what I've been working on. And considering my hand is so good and I can withstand almost any resistance, so if anybody decides to raise me, I really don't mind going 30% here. This is pretty much going to be enough to get the pot dragged my way almost
a ton of the time, and there's less need to risk more money, especially when we have such a huge draw in this situation, I think. Next stack decides to fold, and the early position limper decides to make the raise. He decides to make it $200 to go. It's back onto me. There's no way we're going to be folding this hand. We make the call. The turn, no more waiting is necessary as the 4 of spades peels off, and the better part of all this is our opponent's not stopping the betting train. He decides to bet $300 here, and considering I'm not scared of pretty much any river card, maybe a spade is a little wary, and maybe a board pairing card, but in reality, there's almost no rivers I'm scared of, so I don't want to let him off the line just yet. I'm going to go ahead and still make the call. The river is a pretty decent card. It's the ace of diamonds, so unless he's limp trapping with pocket aces, which is very likely in these games, as it seems sometimes. Our opponent decides to bet out $500. He's not stopping the betting train here. When it gets on to me, I don't think there's anything else to do here besides jam all in, considering he has around $800 behind. He got this river about $1,300 in his stack. He's put out $500, so nearly 40% of his stack is out there right now. So thinking all in is mandatory at this situation. And he tanks for what seems like an infinite amount of time. And unfortunately, our opponent decides to make the fold. We'll never know what he has here. I'm assuming he had some kind of trips or something, or maybe like a weird overpair, jacks or tens or something. I don't know. People play really weird, and especially somebody like that that's an action player, an older gentleman, who really knows? His range could just be infinite, I guess. But he obviously had something that he didn't want to fold. He wasn't bluffing. So if that's the case, then my raise, I'm happy with it. I think I went for the right sizing for sure. So, you win some, you lose some, you win some where you could have won more. So this seemed like it was one of those times. Only a few hands later, the low jack decides to limp here. And now the action player from the 10-20 game decides to isolate from the button to $35. I look down at ace queen offsuit. Pretty beautiful situation to be in right now, besides the fact that we are out of position. I decide to 3-bet it here to $135. It folds back over to the button, and he decides to make the call. The flop comes absolutely perfect. We could not have asked for a better flop. Queen 4-3 with 2 hearts. Definitely going to be some equity in the hand our opponent should have, but we have this board almost dominated at this point. We decide to bet $200, and that $200 is going to be, again, right around that 60 to 75% pot size bet. Our opponent decides to make the call. The turn comes at 9 of clubs, so we are now losing to queen 9 and pocket 9s that were sticky on the flop. Like I always say, I'm not scared of the monsters in the closet. We're going to stick to the plan. He has around $600 remaining in his stack, and it's time that I go for all of it, just in case he has some big draws that he doesn't want to let go of. We don't want to let him get off the hook here easy. We go ahead and jam all in, $600 total. Thinks about it for a brief moment and decides to pitch his pocket 8s into the muck. And he immediately asks for a table change, so maybe the aggression is getting to him. Who knows? It's just unfortunate in this situation where I just happen to have the best hand every time. So it's unfortunate given his exact hand, but there's just so many hands that he's going to have in this situation that have to call an all in. If he has a hand like Jack 10 of hearts, and even then, it sucks. That hand has a ton of equity against me, but it's definitely going to be a hand that can be in his range here. Every flush draw almost that we can think of that is in his range is going to probably have to call off, especially the nut flush draws, and almost every top pair is also going to have to call off. So unfortunate for us, we can't get any more value given his exact holding, but I think I'm really happy with my bet sizing on the turn. Under the gun opens for $30. I'm in late position, and I look down at pocket jacks. Look, I'm just trying to get out of here. We know pocket jacks never wins, and look, we're tired of getting in these weird situations late in session, so in reality, I'm still going to play the hand like I would have either way. I do like 3-betting sometimes, but definitely in this situation, I want to just play it slow, keep the pot size manageable. We're both playing super deep at this point. I think the effective stack in this instant is over $2,500 to $3,000, which is in excess of 300 big blinds. So we're going to go ahead and just make the call here. No one else decides to make the call, and we're off to a flop. The flop is ace 7-7 rainbow. The opposition decides to check here, and I'm not going to really take the bait. My hand has a ton of showdown value, and I don't really need to protect from too much. I think king highs, queen highs are definitely going to be c-betting on this board. He's got to have some type of value hand that he wants to get the showdown with, or a couple of traps. So we're going to go and check it back here. Play turns and rivers. The turn is a pretty decent card. It's another 7, so we improve to a boat here. When he checks it over to me, I think it's time that I go for some value. I bet $30, and he thinks about it for a second and decides to make the call. The river is a pretty ridiculous one. It's another ace, so now there's a full boat out there. After he checks to me, I think about it for a second, and honestly, I'm pretty surprised that he didn't go for a huge bet sizing. This is a thinking player, and I'm almost always certainly going to have to call at some frequency with looking to chop. So I'm surprised he didn't go for some huge bomb sizing. And when he checks it to me, it just kind of feels a little fishy. There's something weird about this. Something reeks, to be fair. Something stinks. So after a little bit of thinking and a little bit of frustration, look, if I can chop this pot, that's great. If not, I don't want to look like a dick and just get my hand caught in the cookie jar. We've learned enough from today's session and previous sessions where I'm just here to take my showdown value. I go ahead and check it back, and you wouldn't believe it. He had ace king of spades. So his plan was definitely to check, jam that river, or check, make a huge sizing to see if I could call off for the chop. So yeah, we're okay with that. We're happy with the way we play the hand. Betting for value on the turn and making that pretty nice disciplined check on the river instead of taking the bait and going for a bluff. Pretty happy with that. I can't complain too much. That's definitely for sure.
Alrighty folks, so pretty tricky little session as you guys saw there. Let me tell you guys something. There beats very few things in poker than the almost overpowered and very unfair hit and run. To be fair, it's my birthday, if that gives me an excuse. But in reality, there's just a lot I have to do today. We're gonna be going to dinner with family. I'm very tired from the helicopter ride. I'm pretty spent, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it a wrap there. We have dinner plans at 8 o'clock and it's currently 7, so gonna head over home, change, do all that. I just want to thank you guys again from the bottom of my heart for the support. Hitting 7,400 subscribers. Yes, you heard that correct. That is an increase of almost 500 subscribers in the last week alone. So, you know, I don't know what to say. I feel like, I don't know, I fucking love you guys. Like, thank you. Thank you. I don't know why you guys want to hang out with this pudgy Indian boy, Salvadorian boy, but, you know, we're on a ride together. So I'm going to show you guys the good, the bad, the ugly. And today was a good example of really misplaying a hand that I've had trouble with. And look, I get comments about it, and I'm only human. I know when I misplay a hand, it's a little frustrating and it's embarrassing to post on the vlog, but I need to be transparent. I want to be honest. When I make good plays, I want to be rewarded. And when I make bad plays, I also want to hear and see the consequence of that. So I appreciate you guys and your constant support. Quick little note, we're gonna be heading to Vegas Tuesday, which will be the 27th of July. We're gonna be there, try to catch the tail end of the WSOP bracelet events. We're gonna probably live stream them. I'm not sure how or when or where, but if you guys wanna watch the live stream for the WSOP, I'll be live on Wednesday, and the link to that live stream will be in the description of this video. Expect some more vlogs from there. Man, I cannot describe the comments alone are like the best part about making these videos. We were in for 1900, out for 3647. So love you guys all dearly. Until the next time, it's been your boy Kieran from Poster Pro. Comment down below. Free money. Who can say no to that? Deuces.
Did me wrong. I can't